Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to get into a case that'll seriously make you wonder how well you can ever really know somebody?
I know, right? It's a creepy one.
Today, we're looking at Israel Keys, a guy who was living this totally normal life on the surface, construction worker, father, even a boyfriend. But secretly, he was leading a life that would make your skin crawl.
It's a case that really flips the whole stranger danger thing on its head, right? Because Keyes was anything but a stranger to the people around him. And that's what makes it so disturbing. He was hiding in plain sight.
Exactly, and that's where we're going to unpack his story from the very beginning. We've got a lot to cover: the details of his crimes, those unsettling kill kits he stashed all over the place, and even the blood drawings he made while he was in prison.
It's like trying to piece together this messed up puzzle where some of the pieces are just missing, and the ones you do have are like super disturbing.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back to February 2012 in Anchorage, Alaska. Picture this: an 18-year-old barista, Samantha Koenig, working the late shift at a coffee stand. Out of nowhere, this guy walks up, looks like just another customer. But this encounter is going to turn into a total nightmare.
The thing about Keyes is he wasn't just some random impulsive creep snatching victims. He was incredibly methodical. Like he'd actually scout locations looking for weak spots, escape routes, that perfect moment to strike. He even studied police procedures, probably from his time in the military.
Oh, wow. So he was using all that knowledge to basically outsmart law enforcement right from the start.
Exactly. In Samantha's case, he forced her into his white pickup truck, which is a detail that'll be really important later on. But here's where it gets really messed up. He took her to his house where his girlfriend and daughter were sleeping and locked her in a shed.
Hold on, wait a minute. He brought a kidnapping victim to his house where his family was. That's a level of crazy I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's wild, right? It's called compartmentalization.
Ah,
It's this psychological thing where someone separates different parts of their lives, their thoughts, emotions. In Key's case, it let him live this double life, doing these horrible things while keeping up this front of being normal.
it's just chilling. So what did he do next?
Well, he starts this whole elaborate act to throw the investigators off the scent. Keyes used Samantha's phone to text her boyfriend, making it seem like everything was fine. Then he leaves a ransom note with a photo of Samantha. But even that was staged. The newspaper in the photo was changed. Samantha's appearance was all messed with. It was like this sick game giving the family false hope while he was planning his next move.
And his girlfriend and daughter had no clue this was going on, right? It's just unbelievable. So what happened next? What was his next move?
Keyes, remember, he had military training. He knew how to disappear, how to stay under the radar. So while everyone's looking for Samantha, he takes his daughter on this pre-planned cruise to New Orleans.
Are you serious? A family vacation in the middle of all this?
Yeah.
How did you think he'd get away with that?
It's crazy, right? But it shows how good he was at compartmentalizing, separating himself from the horror he was causing. He even met up with his girlfriend on the cruise, making this whole normal, loving family man image even stronger.
That is so disturbing. So we've got this young woman, Samantha, abducted, held captive while her kidnapper is off on a cruise. Did the police finally catch up to him?
Not right away. The trail in Samantha's case, it led investigators all over different states. Keyes was using her debit card, making small withdrawals, always under the daily limit so it wouldn't trigger any alarms. But security cameras caught his truck, that white pickup, at these ATMs, and that became a huge break in the case.
So even though he was being all careful, he still slipped up.
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes. It's just that in Keyes' case, the stakes were incredibly high.
I mean, it's crazy to think he thought he could just keep living these two completely separate lives.
Mm-hmm.
But we can't forget about the other cases. Keys confessed to Samantha Konings wasn't the only one.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. He admitted to the murders of Bill and Lorraine Currier up in Vermont. This was about a year before Samantha's abduction. This case really shows how much planning he put into things. I mean, it's scary how much he thought ahead.
So he wasn't just grabbing victims randomly as he was moving around. He was actually picking specific people out.
Yeah, in some cases, definitely. Keyes had actually been to Vermont before he was scoping out places, checking things out. He picked the courier's house because it was so isolated. Can you imagine you think you're safe way out in the middle of nowhere and someone's been watching you waiting for the right moment?
It's like something out of a horror movie, knowing someone's been casing your house. So
Yeah.
what happened to couriers?
Well, Keyes, he cut their phone lines, broke into their house in the middle of the night, and took them to this abandoned farmhouse. He shot Bill first, and then tragically he sexually assaulted and murdered Lorraine. It's awful. Really disturbing.
It's just horrible. And I think he just disappeared like a ghost, leaving the police with nothing until they caught him for Samantha's case.
And that's what makes him so different from a lot of other serial killers. There's no real pattern. No specific type of victim he went after, no clear link between the crimes except for Keyes himself.
So he was trying to be unpredictable on purpose, like he wanted to stay one step ahead of everyone.
Exactly. He got off on the challenge, the whole mental game of planning these crimes and pulling them off without leaving a trace. And that's where we get to the really creepy part of his case, the kill kits.
Yeah, the kill kits. We talked about them a little before, but I think we need to dig into this a bit more. What exactly were they, and why are they so important?
So picture this. Keyes wasn't carrying weapons around with him all the time, way too risky, way too easy to get caught. Instead, he had these stashes of stuff buried all over the place. Weapons, supplies, everything he'd need to kill someone.
So he wasn't just a killer. He was like this walking nightmare with a whole network of death traps hidden around the country.
Pretty much, yeah. And these kill kits weren't just about being practical. It was almost like a ritual for him. He had them buried everywhere across the U.S. It's like he turned the whole country into his hunting ground.
And they actually found one of these kits, right?
They did. In New York State, they found this bucket buried out in the middle of nowhere. Inside was a .22 caliber Ruger, a silencer ammunition, all wrapped up and ready to go. It was chilling proof of just how much he planned everything and how far he was willing to go.
So he could be driving through any town, any state, knowing that there's this kit buried somewhere just waiting for him. That's a terrifying thought.
And that's why he was so hard to catch. He wasn't tied to one place or one way of doing things. He could change, blend in, and disappear. He had turned killing into this portable, almost like a normal thing for him.
It's like his military background, combined with this twisted way of thinking, created this perfect storm. He was like a ghost moving through society, leaving all this destruction behind him.
And sadly, we may never know just how much destruction he caused. Because there's one more piece to this story, something that'll really get under your skin, the blood drawings.
Oh yeah, the blood drawings. It sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. What's the deal with those?
So remember, Keyes is in jail now, waiting for his trial for Samantha Koenig's murder. Well, the guards search his cell, and they find something really disturbing hidden under his bed drawings he made, using his own blood as ink.
His own blood? That's seriously creepy. What were the drawings of?
11 skulls, each one carefully drawn with an upside-down cross on the forehead. It's heavy symbolism, like it says something about Keyes' twisted view of the world.
11 skulls. But he had only confessed to 3 murders at that point. You think he was trying to tell us something?
A lot of investigators think so. FBI agent Jeff Bell. He spent a lot of time talking to Keyes, and he was convinced those skulls represented victims. Each one was a life Keyes had taken.
So he could have been confessing to 8 more murders through those drawings.
Maybe, but unfortunately he never gave any details. It's like he wanted to admit to his crimes, but without giving enough information to help the families of those other victims find peace.
That's just heartbreaking. To know your loved one could be one of those skulls, but to never know for sure, to never get justice.
And that's the truly sad part of this whole case. Keyes took so much with him to the grave. He killed himself in his cell before he could face justice for everything he did.
So we're left with all these unanswered questions. But even with what we do know, it's clear that Israel Keyes was a different kind of killer. Truly terrifying.
Yeah, it's almost worse to think that there are families out there who will never have any idea what happened to their loved ones. That they might have been one of this guy's victims, but they'll never really know for sure.
It really shows just how calculated and detached he was, right? Like we've been talking about. He wasn't driven by the same kind of things that drive a lot of other serial killers. It wasn't about anger or a specific kind of victim for him. It was all about power and control, the thrill of getting away with it. He even said once that killing was like training for a marathon, as if it was just another thing to check off on his to-do list.
Right, exactly. That's a pretty chilling thing to say. It tells you a lot about how he saw things. It was all about mastering a skill in the most messed up way possible. And that's what made him so hard to catch.
He was like a ghost, always blending in, adapting, staying ahead of the game. I remember reading about how he'd bury those kill kits during what seemed like totally normal trips, like family vacations or work stuff.
Yeah.
It's creepy to think he could be having a good time while knowing he had those weapons stashed nearby.
It makes you question what's normal, doesn't it? I mean, here's a guy who was living a regular life, working, have relationships and all that. But underneath it all was this horrible darkness. It's a reminder that evil doesn't always look how you think it will. It can be hiding right there in plain sight.
It's a scary thought. It really makes you wonder if you can ever truly know someone.
And that's one of the most important things to remember here. Don't think you can always spot danger right away. Trust your gut. Pay attention to what's going on around you. And never forget that anyone is capable of terrible things.
It's like that saying, Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. But with Keyes, even the people who thought they knew him had no idea about the monster he really was.
You got it. And that's what makes this story so fascinating and so disturbing. It forces us to face this really uncomfortable truth that evil can look like anyone.
Well, this deep dive into the world of Israel Keyes has been pretty unsettling, I have to admit. But it's a good reminder that we need to be aware, stay informed, and never stop questioning the world around us, especially the things and the people who seem the most familiar.
Because sometimes the most dangerous monsters are the ones hiding right there where you least expect them.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So that's it for our deep dive into the case of Israel Keyes.
Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about why people do the things they do, the better we can handle whatever comes our way.
I hope this deep dive has given you some new ways of thinking about the dark side of human nature. And here's something to think about after learning about Israel Keyes and how he planned everything so carefully. Has your view of everyday situations changed at all? What do you notice now that you might not have before? Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.